The day begins as it always does before the sun. My hands move on their own, stoking the kitchen fire to life while my mind lingers in that precious space between sleep and waking, the only place I'm truly free. My name is Ruth. I am 31 years old, and I have been cooking in Master Reynolds's kitchen since I was barely tall enough to reach the stovetop. "Mama, the water's boiling over." My daughter's voice pulls me back. Mercy, my beautiful Mercy. 13 years old with clever hands and eyes that still hold light, despite everything. She stands beside me now, her slender fingers already roughened from work, her apron smudged with yesterday's flour that never quite washes out. "Thank you, child." I slide the pot from the flame, wincing as a splash of scalding water hits my wrist. Another scar to join the constellation that maps my years in this kitchen. I don't flinch anymore. Pain is an old companion. Today the house buzzes with activity. Master Reynolds is hosting important men from Savannah. Business associates, he calls them. To me, they're just more hungry mouths, more demanding voices, more eyes that look through me as if I'm nothing but another kitchen implement. "They say there's going to be 12 gentlemen, Mama," Mercy whispers as she deftly peels potatoes, her knife moving in quick, precise strokes. I taught her that. Miss Eleanor was fussing about having enough of the good silver polished. I nod, measuring out flour for the dinner rolls. The good silver, as if there's anything good about this place. "Then we'd best make sure everything is perfect," I say quietly. "You remember what happened last time?" Mercy's hands still for just a moment, and I know she's remembering the sound of the switch against my back because the soup had been too salty. 3 lashes. 1 for each grain of excess salt, Master Reynolds had joked as Overseer Miller struck me, while the family waited for their next course. The day passes in a blur of heat and steam. My body works while my mind drifts, a separation I've perfected over the years. The pork roasts, fragrant with herbs from my small garden patch. The yams caramelize, the greens simmer with salt pork. By late afternoon, the kitchen is an inferno, sweat streaming down my face, soaking my head wrap. But the food is perfect, it always is. Ruth, House Mistress Eleanor, sweeps into the kitchen, her face already pinched with displeasure, though she's found nothing yet to criticize. "These men are very important to my husband's business. Everything must be immaculate, do you understand?" "Yes, mistress." I keep my eyes downcast, my voice flat. I learned long ago that any emotion, even eagerness to please, can be twisted into insolence. "And the girl will serve," she adds, eyeing Mercy. "She's old enough now. Make sure she knows her place." My heart stammers against my ribs. Mercy has worked in the kitchen, yes, but never served in the dining room, never been subjected to the wandering hands and leering eyes of white men deep in their cups. "Mistress, she's not trained for—" "That wasn't a request, Ruth." Her voice turns to ice. "Dress her properly, and if she embarrasses this household, you'll both feel the consequences." After she leaves, I turn to Mercy, whose eyes have grown wide with fear. "Mama?" I cup her face in my hands, forcing steadiness into my voice. "You'll be fine. Keep your eyes down. Move quickly, but not hurriedly. Be invisible." The same terrible instructions my mother gave me when I first served a lifetime ago. As twilight falls, the gentlemen arrive in fine carriages, their laughter booming through the open windows. I arrange the first course on china plates bordered with painted roses, while Mercy stands beside me, trembling slightly in the clean dress I've hastily altered to fit her. "Remember," I whisper as I adjust her collar, "you are mine before you are theirs. Always." She nods, squares her shoulders, and follows the head house servant into the dining room with a tray of appetizers. I close my eyes briefly, sending a prayer with her, before turning back to the stove. The dinner progresses. Mercy returns for each new course, her face carefully blank but her eyes telling me everything. I see the moment something shifts. When she returns for the 3rd course, there's a new tension in her shoulders, a tightness around her mouth. "What is it?" I whisper as I arrange slices of roast on the serving platter. "The gentleman at Master's right," she murmurs, barely moving her lips. "He keeps looking at me." Ice floods my veins. I know that look. Every woman in bondage knows that look. "Stay close to the wall when you serve him," I instruct, my voice urgent but low. "And if you can, spill something on him. Not enough to cause a scene, just enough to make him keep his distance." She leaves with the platter, her back straight as a ramrod. I turn back to preparing the dessert course, but my hands shake so badly I nearly drop a dish. When Mercy returns next, her face is ashen. "Mama, they're talking about me," she whispers, her voice barely audible over the clatter of dishes. "The man asked Master how much I'd cost." The world stops. Blood rushes in my ears. I've heard these conversations before, seen children sold from their mothers, seen women's bellies swell with the master's children, only to have those children later sold downriver. But not my Mercy, not my child. Did Master answer? My voice sounds strange, distant. Mercy shakes her head. He laughed and said they'd discuss business after dinner. I grip the edge of the table, willing strength into my limbs. It might be nothing, I lie. Sometimes they talk this way just to... "Ruth!" Mistress Eleanor's sharp voice cuts through our whispered conversation. "The dessert. Now." The rest of the evening passes in a fog of terror. I send out perfect tarts with honey and roasted pecans. I clean as I go, mechanically, my mind spinning with desperate plans that dissolve as quickly as they form. There is nowhere to run, no one to appeal to, no justice to be found. When the gentlemen finally retire to Master Reynolds's study with their brandy and cigars, I send Mercy to clean the kitchen while I begin washing the mountain of dishes. Through the small window above the washing tub, I can hear snatches of their conversation. Business talk, numbers, profits, cotton prices, and then, clear as a dinner bell, "So, about that girl, your cook's daughter, I'm still interested if you're selling." Master Reynolds' laugh echoes across the yard. "Well now, I hadn't considered it, but for the right price." Their voice is lower, but I've heard enough. My hands still in the greasy water. A single plate slips from my fingers, shattering against the floor. I don't move to clean it up. Mercy looks at me, her young face etched with a fear no child should know. "Mama?" The world narrows to a single point of clarity. I've been property all my life. I've cooked and cleaned and bowed and scraped. I've birthed my child in this kitchen and raised her in this hell. I've buried my rage so deep I sometimes forget it's there. But as I look at my daughter, my flesh, my blood, my heart walking outside my body, that rage erupts like a volcano long dormant. They will not take her from me. They will not use her body, break her spirit, work her to death on some strange plantation where I cannot protect her. I reach for her, pull her close, inhale the scent of her hair. "Whatever happens," I whisper fiercely, "remember you are not what they say you are. You are not property. You are my beloved child." She clings to me, this girl on the cusp of womanhood, suddenly a small child again in her terror. Over her shoulder, I stare out the window toward the study where men barter over human lives. The rage crystallizes into something hard and sharp and deadly inside me. In that moment, I know what I must do. God help me. I know. Morning comes with the sound of boots on the porch and men's voices, loud, careless, as if they're discussing livestock and not the severing of a mother from her child. I've been awake all night, sitting beside Mercy's sleeping form, memorizing the curve of her cheek, the rhythm of her breathing, the small scar above her eyebrow from when she fell chasing chickens as a toddler. There's a pounding on our cabin door. Mercy stirs, her eyes fluttering open with the innocent confusion of someone who doesn't yet remember their world is ending. "Ruth, get that girl ready." It's Overseer Miller's voice, rough with impatience. My hands shake as I help Mercy dress in her cleanest dress. Neither of us speaks. What words could possibly bridge this abyss? I braid her hair the way my mother taught me, my fingers lingering against her scalp. When I finish, I press something into her palm, a small cloth pouch containing dried herbs from my garden and a scrap of fabric torn from my own dress. "Keep this hidden," I whisper urgently. "Remember me by its smell, and if you're ever sick, brew these herbs in hot water, they'll help." "Mama," her voice breaks, eyes welling with tears she's too afraid to shed. "Don't forget who you are," I tell her, my voice fierce despite its softness. "Your grandmother was mender from across the water. She knew medicines and songs from the old country. I've taught you some, remember them, pass them on if you can." The door bangs open. Overseer Miller stands there, impatient, a coil of rope dangling from his belt. Behind him is the gentleman from dinner, Mr. Carruthers, I heard them call him, surveying my daughter with the clinical interest of someone assessing a purchase. "Come along, girl," Miller barks. "Your new master's in a hurry." Mercy's fingers dig into my arms. "Mama, please," she whispers, though we both know there's nothing I can do. I feel something snap inside me, not breaking but hardening. I step forward, placing myself between my child and these men. "Sir," I address Mr. Carruthers directly, keeping my eyes lowered as is expected. "My daughter is skilled in the kitchen. She's valuable that way. If you'll permit me to tell you about her abilities—" "Shut your mouth, Ruth," Miller hisses, stepping forward with his hand raised to strike. But Mr. Carruthers waves him off. "Let her speak. I want to know what I'm getting." I swallow the bile rising in my throat. "She can make biscuits light as air, sir. Knows how to preserve fruits for winter. Can pluck and dress a chicken in minutes. She's clever with spices too." "Is that so?" He looks amused as if my desperation is entertaining. "Well, I do enjoy good cooking, but I have other plans for her as well. My wife needs a lady's maid, and this one has the right look about her." The implication hangs in the air between us. I've seen what happens to young, pretty girls forced to serve as ladies' maids. I've treated their wounds, physical and otherwise. "Sir, please," I whisper, abandoning all pride. "She's just a child." "She's property," he corrects mildly, as if explaining something to a slow-witted person. "Property I've paid good money for. Now step aside." Miller grabs my arm, yanking me away from Mercy. She cries out, reaching for me, but another field hand has appeared in the doorway, blocking her path. "Mama, Mama, please." I lunge against Miller's grip. "Let me say goodbye," I plead. "Just one moment." Surprisingly, Mr. Carruthers nods. "Make it quick. The road to Savannah is long." Miller releases me with a shove. I stumble forward, catching Mercy in my arms one last time. I press my lips to her ear, inhaling her scent, committing it to memory. "I will find you," I promise, though we both know it's a lie. "Be strong, stay alive. I love you more than heaven and earth." Then they're pulling her away. Her fingers slip from mine. The last I see is her face, streaked with tears, looking back at me as they march her toward a waiting wagon. I stand in the doorway of our cabin, my body turned to stone, watching until the dust from the wagon wheels settles and the road is empty once more. I don't remember returning to the kitchen. I don't remember preparing breakfast. But I must have, because suddenly I'm standing over a pot of grits, stirring mechanically as the household awakens to its daily routines, as if the world hasn't just ended. Mistress Eleanor sweeps in, already fully dressed. "There you are, Ruth. We'll need a hearty breakfast. Mr. Reynolds is quite pleased with his business transaction." The wooden spoon cracks in my grip. A splinter drives deep into my palm, but I barely feel it. "Yes, mistress," I say, my voice hollow. She pauses, studying me with a flicker of what might be discomfort. "It's for the best, you know. That girl was getting too old to keep here, and Mr. Carruthers is wealthy. She'll likely have an easier life than most." The rage bubbles up so suddenly I taste blood, where I've bitten the inside of my cheek to keep from screaming. I say nothing, because there is nothing to say that wouldn't get me whipped or worse. She mistakes my silence for acceptance. "We'll need extra biscuits this morning, and make sure the coffee is strong." When she leaves, I stare down at my bleeding palm, at the wooden splinter embedded in my flesh. Slowly, deliberately, I dig it out, watching the blood well up and spill over. The pain is clarifying. It reminds me I'm still alive when I wish I wasn't. Days pass. I cook. I clean. I exist in a fog of grief, so thick I can barely breathe through it. At night, I return to our cabin, my cabin now, and curl around the empty space where Mercy should be. I press her dress to my face, breathing in what remains of her scent. I don't cry. The tears won't come. Instead, there's only this terrible burning in my chest, spreading outward, consuming everything in its path. A week after Mercy is taken, I'm gathering herbs from my small garden when I overhear Master Reynolds talking with his son John on the porch. "The wedding plans are coming along," John is saying. His voice grates on my nerves. He's always been cruel, enjoying the power he holds over others. He once whipped a stable boy unconscious for failing to saddle his horse quickly enough. Caroline's father has agreed to host the reception, but Mother insists the rehearsal dinner be held here. "Of course," Master Reynolds replies. "We'll show the Covingtons that the Reynolds family knows how to entertain properly. We'll need to have Ruth prepare something special." "That surly cook," John laughs. "She's been like a ghost since you sold her brat. Might need to put some life back into her before the dinner." "She'll do as she's told," Master Reynolds says dismissively. "She always has." I freeze, my fingers curled around a sprig of rosemary. Wedding plans. John Reynolds, that monster in human form, is to be married. There will be a feast, a celebration, joy for their family while mine lies shattered. And I am expected to cook for them, to nourish the very bodies that have destroyed mine. Something shifts inside me then, a terrible clarity descending. My fingers move to another plant in my garden, one I've carefully hidden among the cooking herbs. Foxglove. Beautiful, deadly foxglove whose leaves I've studied but never dared to use. Beside it grows monkshood and lily of the valley. Innocent-looking plants with secrets dark as midnight. My grandmother's voice whispers from memory. Everything that grows from the earth has power, child. Some heal, some harm. Know the difference and use that knowledge wisely. For years I've used my knowledge to heal, treating the other enslaved people's ailments with poultices and teas, easing their suffering as best I could. But now, as I gently stroke the foxglove's spotted leaves, I understand there's another use for this wisdom. They took my daughter. They ripped her from my arms and sold her like a sack of flour. They expect me to continue serving them, feeding them, keeping them healthy and strong, so they can continue inflicting their cruelty on others. I pluck a single foxglove leaf, tuck it into my pocket. My hands have stopped shaking. The fog of grief parts, revealing a path forward, narrow, treacherous, but clear. They will pay for what they've done, not just Master Reynolds, but his son too. This wedding feast will indeed be memorable, but not in the way they intend. For the first time since Mercy was taken, I feel something other than despair. It's not hope. Hope died on the road to Savannah. It's purpose, cold, sharp purpose that cuts through my grief like a blade. That night, alone in my cabin, I sought through my entire collection of herbs and roots. Some I've gathered from the woods beyond the plantation. Others I've cultivated secretly in shadowy corners of my garden. I separate them carefully. Those that cause stomach pain, those that induce vomiting, those that affect the heart, those that bring fever and confusion. I know exactly what each one does. I've spent a lifetime learning, watching, remembering. The knowledge my grandmother brought across the water passed to my mother and then to me. Knowledge the white folks dismiss as superstition while secretly seeking our remedies when their own doctors fail them. Outside, an owl calls into the darkness. Her death omen, the old people would say. I wrap my deadly harvest in clean cloth and hide it beneath a loose floorboard. As I do, my fingers brush something else hidden there. A small wooden doll I carved for Mercy years ago. My throat closes with grief. I'm sorry, I whisper, though I don't know who I'm apologizing to. My daughter for failing to protect her? My ancestors for perverting their healing knowledge? God for the sin I'm contemplating? Or perhaps I'm apologizing to myself for what I'm about to become. I lie awake until dawn, my resolve hardening with each passing hour. They have taken everything from me, my child, my hope, my humanity, but they've overlooked one thing, my power. The power to nourish or poison, the power that resides in these skilled hands that have fed them for years. As the first light breaks over the plantation, I rise and prepare for the day's work. But I am no longer just Ruth the cook. I am Ruth the Avenger, and the wedding feast of John Reynolds will be my battlefield. Weeks pass, each day a careful performance. I cook meals with the same precision I've always shown, move through the kitchen with the same quiet efficiency. But inside, I am transformed. Every moment not spent on my required duties is devoted to my plan, gathering, drying, testing. I've created a small laboratory in the far corner of my garden, hidden behind tall stalks of okra, where no white person ever ventures. Here I experiment with my plants, foxglove, nightshade, water hemlock, gauging their potency, learning their properties. I test tiny amounts on myself first, noting the bitterness, the numbness of tongue, the quickening of pulse. Small woodland creatures become my unwitting subjects. I tell myself it's necessary, this smaller cruelty to enable my larger vengeance. Still, I whisper apologies as I feed a rabbit broth laced with foxglove and watch its breathing slow, then stop. I need to know exactly how much is needed, how quickly it works, what signs might betray me. "What are you always doing out here, Ruth?" The voice startles me. I whirl around to find Bessie, one of the house servants, watching me curiously. I hastily cover my work with a basket. "Just tending to my herbs," I reply, forcing a calmness I don't feel. "The mistress wants special seasonings for the wedding feast." Bessie steps closer, lowering her voice. "You ain't been right since they took Mercy. We're all worried for you." I meet her eyes, wondering how much she suspects. Bessie and I have never been close. She's always been too eager to please the white folks for my taste, but she's been here as long as I have, suffered her own losses. I'm fine, I say flatly, just doing what I must. She studies me for a long moment, then sighs. The wedding's got everyone in a state. 3 weeks away, and already the mistress is changing her mind daily about the menu. My pulse quickens. 3 weeks? I thought it was still a month off. They moved it up, something about the groom's family needing to travel sooner. She shakes her head. Means we'll all be working double time to prepare. After she leaves, I sit back on my heels, mind racing. 3 weeks, not 4. I need to accelerate my preparations. That evening, I approach Jeremiah, an elderly man who works in the stables. His hands are gnarled with arthritis, and I've been making him a salve for years. He's one of the few people I trust. I need something from town, I tell him quietly as I rub the salve into his joints. For a special remedy. He doesn't ask questions. Jeremiah has buried 4 children and a wife. He understands grief and rage better than most. The master's sending me to fetch supplies tomorrow, he says. Tell me what you need. I press a small list into his palm along with the salve. Be careful, I warn. If anyone asks, ain't nobody going to ask an old man like me nothing, he interrupts with a grim smile. I'm just a shadow to them. 2 days later, he slips me a small package wrapped in oilcloth. Inside are the final ingredients I need: white arsenic and strychnine, sold freely at the general store for killing rats and other vermin. The irony doesn't escape me. Thank you, I whisper, tucking the package into my apron pocket. Jeremiah's rheumy eyes search mine. Whatever you're planning, Ruth, be careful. They'll kill you slow if they catch you. I nod once. They already killed me when they took my daughter. As the wedding approaches, the household buzzes with activity. Mistress Eleanor summons me to the dining room to discuss the menu. She sits at the great mahogany table, lists spread before her, while I stand with my hands folded, eyes lowered. We'll have 30 guests for the rehearsal dinner, she announces. The finest families in the county. The Covingtons will be judging every aspect of our hospitality. Yes, mistress. I want your special roast pork with apple glaze and those little pastries filled with cheese that you make. And for dessert, the pecan tarts with honey, I suggest quietly. They keep well so they can be made a day ahead. She looks surprised, then pleased. Yes, perfect. I'm glad to see you taking an interest again, Ruth. I was beginning to worry. If only she knew the nature of my interest. I've chosen each dish carefully. Sauces that can mask bitter flavors, dishes with strong spices, or sweetness that can disguise my additions. The wine will be key. Red and spiced for the toast, perfect for concealing both color and taste. And I'll need you to train Lily to help serve, she continues. With Mercy gone, she stops abruptly, seeming to realize what she said. I keep my face impassive, though rage flares hot in my chest. Yes, mistress, I'll see to it. As the day approaches, I make my final preparations. The night before the rehearsal dinner, I slip away to the far side of the plantation, to a secluded spot where the river bends around a grove of cypress trees. Here, away from prying eyes, I've built a small fire pit, hidden by dense undergrowth. Under the light of the waning moon, I combine my gathered ingredients, herbs dried to potent dust, roots ground to fine powder, the white arsenic and strychnine. I mix them with rendered fat to create a paste that will dissolve easily in hot liquid. As I work, I whisper the names of those who have been taken from me. Not just Mercy, but my mother, my grandmother, a baby boy who lived only long enough to draw 3 breaths. Their spirits surround me, watching, waiting. The concoction complete, I divide it into 3 small packets made from scraped animal bladder, thin enough to dissolve completely in hot liquid, leaving no trace. Each packet contains enough to kill several men. I will use all 3. Returning to my cabin, I hide the packets in the secret compartment I've carved into the underside of my wooden bed frame. Tomorrow they will find their way into the wedding feast. The morning of the rehearsal dinner dawns clear and bright. I'm in the kitchen before sunrise, my movements precise, efficient. The other house servants mill around, following my instructions as I assign tasks. Lily, a girl of 15 who's been brought in from the fields to replace Mercy, watches me nervously. You'll serve the wine, I tell her quietly. It's simple enough, just make sure the master's cup and his son's cup are always full. Yes, Miss Ruth, she whispers, clearly intimidated by both me and the task. As the day progresses, tension builds in my shoulders, my neck. Every time someone enters the kitchen unexpectedly, my heart stutters, but I show nothing, betray nothing. My hands remain steady as I prepare dish after dish, each one perfect, just as they expect. Mid-afternoon, John Reynolds saunters into the kitchen, his future bride Caroline on his arm. She's a pale, fragile-looking thing with golden curls and a vacuous smile. I wonder if she knows what kind of man she's marrying. "There's our famous cook," John announces, gesturing toward me as if I'm an attraction at a county fair. "I've been telling Caroline about your pecan tarts. She simply must try one." I wipe my hands on my apron, keep my eyes lowered. "They're not ready yet, Master John. Surely you have one we could sample?" His voice carries the entitlement of someone who's never been denied anything. I move to the cooling rack, where the first batch of tarts rests. They need to set properly, but if you insist. I select 2, place them on a small plate. Caroline takes a delicate bite, her eyes widening. "Oh, these are divine," John smirks, pleased with himself. "Didn't I tell you?" Ruth's hands are magic in the kitchen. His gaze slides over me, and I suppress a shudder. "Though I must say, Ruth, you're looking rather thin lately. Still pining for that girl of yours?" My fingers twitch, but my face remains expressionless. "The kitchen gets very hot, Master John. It affects my appetite." He laughs, the sound grating against my ears. "Well, don't work yourself to death. We need you for the wedding feast next week. That will be the real test of your skills." After they leave, I grip the edge of the table, breathing deeply through my nose. Tonight is only the rehearsal dinner. The true vengeance will come at the wedding feast itself, but already I'm imagining the satisfaction of watching John Reynolds clutch his throat, his face contorted in pain. Will he understand, in those final moments, what he's paying for? As evening approaches, I send the other servants away on various errands, ensuring I have the kitchen to myself for the crucial final preparations. With trembling hands, I retrieve one of my packets from its hiding place. The rehearsal dinner will be a test, not enough to kill but enough to cause discomfort, to make them vulnerable for the final strike at the wedding feast. I dissolve the contents in the mulled wine that will be served with dessert. The dark red liquid bubbles on the stove, absorbing my vengeance into its depths. I stir slowly, methodically, whispering words my grandmother taught me, not quite a prayer, not quite a curse, but something in between. "For mercy," I murmur as the spiced wine fills the kitchen with its deceptively inviting aroma. "For all of us." The guests begin to arrive as the sun sets. I hear their carriages on the gravel drive, their exclamations of delight at the decorations Mistress Eleanor has labored over for weeks. Their voices drift through the kitchen window, light, carefree, celebrating the union of 2 wealthy families, while my own family lies shattered. I send out the first course, oysters nestled in their shells, dressed with a sauce of butter and herbs. Next comes the soup, then the roast pork with glazed apples. Each dish leaves my kitchen in perfection, carried by servants who move silently among the chattering guests. Finally, it's time for dessert. The pecan tarts, golden and glistening with honey, and the mulled wine, dark and potent, laced with just enough of my mixture to cause discomfort, but not death, not yet. I nod to Lily. "Remember, the master and his son get served first." She curtsies nervously and carries the tray of wine glasses into the dining room. Through the slightly ajar door, I watch as Master Reynolds raises his glass in a toast to the happy couple. John's face is flushed with pride and drink as he pulls Caroline close. "To my son and his beautiful bride," Master Reynolds proclaims. "May their union be as prosperous and fruitful as this plantation has been to our family." Cheers erupt, glasses clink, and they drink deeply of my poisoned offering. I turn away back to my kitchen and wait. It doesn't take long. Perhaps 20 minutes later, there's a commotion in the dining room. Raised voices, a chair scraping back. I hear Master Reynolds first. "Good God, what's in this wine? My stomach?" Then John, "I don't feel well either, Father." Perhaps Mistress Eleanor bursts into the kitchen, her face tight with fury and embarrassment. "Ruth, what have you done? The Master and John are ill, and now the Covingtons are looking at us as if we're trying to poison them." I widen my eyes in feigned shock. "Mistress, I don't understand. The wine was the same as always." "Check it! Now!" she demands, gesturing wildly at the pot still simmering on the stove. I ladle some into a cup, pretend to sniff it, then take a small sip. The bitterness is there beneath the spices, but not enough to detect unless you know to look for it. and not enough to harm me with this tiny taste. It seems fine to me, mistress, I say, keeping my voice steady. Perhaps it's something else that disagreed with them. She narrows her eyes, clearly suspicious, but unable to prove anything. Clear the dessert, serve coffee instead, and Ruth, she leans close, her voice dropping to a menacing whisper. If I find out you've done anything to embarrass this family, I'll have you whipped until there's no skin left on your back. I lower my gaze. Yes, mistress. She storms out, leaving me alone with my silent triumph. It's begun. The first taste of what's to come. Not enough to expose me, but enough to plant the seed of discomfort, to remind them that they are not as invulnerable as they believe. Later that night, as the guests depart and the household settles, I slip away to my cabin. Inside, I retrieve my remaining 2 packets of poison from their hiding place. 1 week until the wedding feast. 1 week until my vengeance is complete. I hold the packets in my palm, feeling their deadly weight. For the first time since Mercy was taken, a smile crosses my face. Not a smile of joy. I don't think I'll ever know joy again, but a smile of grim satisfaction. Soon, I whisper to the empty room, to the ghost of my daughter who haunts every corner. Soon they'll know what it feels like to have everything taken from them. Outside, thunder rumbles in the distance. A storm is coming. The wedding day arrives with a sky so blue it hurts to look at it. God's cruelest joke, blessing these monsters with perfect weather, while my heart remains a storm of rage and grief. I've barely slept this past week, every moment consumed with refining my plan, checking and rechecking my deadly concoction, rehearsing my movements so they'll appear as natural as breathing. The kitchen has been a flurry of activity since before dawn. Servants dart in and out, carrying decorations, arranging flowers, polishing silver that gleams with obscene brightness. I stand at the center of this chaos, outwardly calm, issuing instructions in a steady voice while my heart hammers against my ribs like a trapped bird. Mistress Eleanor sweeps through periodically, her face pinched with anxiety. The cake needs more decoration, she snaps, and make sure the sauce for the roast isn't too spicy. The Covingtons have delicate constitutions. I nod, keeping my eyes lowered, my hands steady. Yes, mistress, everything will be perfect. Perfect indeed, though not in the way she imagines. I've spent the morning preparing dishes of exquisite beauty and flavor. Dishes that will be remembered long after this day is over, though not for their taste. Master John appears at midday, already half drunk and swaggering, the stomach upset from the rehearsal dinner seemingly forgotten. Cook me something special, he demands, leaning against the doorframe. Need my strength for tonight. He winks crudely, and several of the younger kitchen girls look away in embarrassment. Right away, Master John, I reply, my voice devoid of emotion. I prepare him a small plate of cold meat and cheese, nothing that will interfere with my plans for the feast. As I hand it to him, our fingers brush momentarily. He doesn't notice how I stiffen at the contact, how every fiber of my being recoils from touching the hand that has caused so much suffering. You've been a good servant, Ruth, he says, chewing with his mouth open. Loyal, despite what happened with your girl. He says this casually, as if referring to a minor inconvenience rather than the destruction of my world. I force my face to remain impassive. Thank you, Master John. Maybe I'll buy you another one someday. A small one you can train up right from the start. He laughs at his own grotesque generosity. Something must show in my eyes then, some flash of the murderous rage that consumes me, because he pauses, tilting his head. Something wrong with you, Ruth? I quickly lower my gaze. Just tired, Master John, so much to prepare. He studies me a moment longer, then shrugs, his brief moment of perception lost in his self-absorption. Well, don't disappoint us tonight. Father says this feast needs to be remembered. Oh, it will be, I think, as he swaggers away. It will never be forgotten. As afternoon slides into evening, I dismiss the other kitchen staff one by one, sending them on errands that will keep them away during the crucial final preparations. Only Lily remains, nervous and fidgeting as she helps me arrange the last dishes. You can go now, I tell her softly. I'll finish here. She hesitates. Mistress said I'm to help serve the wine for the toasts. I turn to her, really looking at her for the first time today. She's so young, her face still round with childhood despite the premature aging that fieldwork brings. Not unlike Mercy. The thought sends a stab of pain through my chest. Lily, I say carefully, when the toasts begin, I want you to step outside for air. Stay out for at least half an hour. Can you do that for me? Confusion crosses her face. But Mistress will be angry. I'll take the blame. Say you were feeling faint from the heat. I place my hands on her shoulders, looking directly into her eyes. Promise me. Something in my gaze must convey the seriousness of my request, because she nods slowly. Yes, Miss Ruth. I promise. Good girl. I squeeze her shoulders once, then turn back to my work. When she's gone, I retrieve the final 2 packets of poison from where I've hidden them beneath a loose floorboard in the pantry. With trembling hands, I unwrap them, staring at the deadly powder within. There's still time to turn back, to throw this away and continue my life of servitude, to preserve whatever shred of my soul might remain intact after all these years. But then I think of Mercy, her terrified face as they dragged her away, the sound of her voice calling for me as I stood helpless. I think of all the other mothers who have had their children torn from them on this plantation, all the bodies broken by the lash, all the spirits crushed beneath the boot of white supremacy. No, there is no turning back. With a steady hand, I sprinkle the first packet into the gravy boat meant for the head table, where Master Reynolds, John, and the immediate family will sit. The second packet I dissolve in the special spiced wine reserved for the wedding toast. The powder disappears without a trace, leaving no visible evidence of my deed. The poison is tasteless, odorless once mixed. It will take time to work, perhaps an hour or more after consumption, long enough for suspicion to fall elsewhere when the symptoms begin. The gravy will affect only those at the head table, but the wine will be distributed more widely. I've calculated the amounts carefully. Those at the head table, who will consume both, will not survive the night. I stare at my handiwork. The gravy boat gleams innocently in the lamplight. The wine sparkles like rubies in the crystal decanter. Death disguised as celebration. The guests begin to arrive, their voices carrying through the open windows. Laughter, congratulations, the rustle of expensive fabric. I hear Master Reynolds greeting them effusively, boasting about the feast to come. If only he knew. Jeremiah appears at the kitchen door, his old face creased with concern. Ruth, he says quietly, whatever you're planning, be careful. I look at him. This man who has survived decades of bondage, his spirit bent but never broken. There's no careful way to do this, Jeremiah, but it needs doing. He holds my gaze for a long moment, then nods once. Understanding passes between us, the understanding of those who have endured too much, who have seen the depths of human cruelty and found it limitless. I'll be gone tomorrow, he says simply, taking supplies to the eastern fields. Won't be back till late. An alibi. He's giving himself an alibi. My throat tightens with emotion. Thank you. The dinner service begins. I send out course after course, each one a masterpiece of culinary skill. The guests exclaim over the flavors, the presentation. Little do they know they're witnessing my final performance. Through the dining room door, I catch glimpses of the celebration. The bride in her white dress, fair hair gleaming in the candlelight. Master Reynolds at the head of the table, face flushed with pride and wine. John beside him pouring at his new wife when he thinks no one is looking. Finally, it's time for the main course. Roasted duck with orange glaze, surrounded by root vegetables, and the gravy boat, carrying its deadly secret, placed directly before Master Reynolds. I watch through the crack in the door as he ladles it generously over his plate, then passes it to John, who does the same. The other family members at the head table follow suit. They eat with gusto, complimenting the flavors between bites. My hands are ice cold now, my breathing shallow. It's done. There's no taking it back. As the plates are cleared, Master Reynolds rises, lifting his glass for a toast. Servants hurry to fill everyone's glasses with my poisoned wine. I notice Lily slip quietly from the room, keeping her promise to me. To my son and his beautiful bride, Master Reynolds proclaims, his voice carrying through the hall. May their union bring forth many strong sons to carry on the Reynolds name. Cheers erupt. Glasses clink. They drink deeply, sealing their fate with every swallow. I should feel triumph. Instead, I feel strangely hollow, as if something vital has been carved from my chest. Is this what vengeance feels like? This empty ache? The dinner continues. Dessert is served. My famous pecan tarts, innocent this time. More wine flows, more laughter, more toasts to the happy couple. And then, almost imperceptibly at first, it begins. Master Reynolds tugs at his collar, his face growing flushed beyond what wine alone would cause. Beside him, John shifts uncomfortably in his seat. a sheen of sweat breaking out on his forehead despite the cool evening air. I move closer to the dining room, positioning myself where I can see but remain unnoticed in the shadows of the hallway. The next moments unfold with terrible clarity. Master Reynolds clutches his stomach suddenly, his wine glass slipping from his fingers to shatter on the table. The conversation falters as heads turn toward the disturbance. "Father," John's voice sounds strained. He too is clutching his midsection, his face contorted in pain. "I can't." Master Reynolds tries to stand, then collapses back into his chair. "My throat, it's burning." Panic ripples through the room as others at the head table begin to show similar symptoms. Caroline's father falls from his chair to his knees, retching violently. Mistress Eleanor screams, her hands fluttering uselessly over her husband. "A doctor!" someone shouts. "Send for a doctor immediately!" But I know no doctor will arrive in time. The poison is working faster than I anticipated, the dual doses in both gravy and wine accelerating its effects. Master Reynolds' face has turned a mottled purple, his eyes bulging as he gasps for air. Blood trickles from the corner of his mouth. Beside him, John convulses, his body arching in agony as foam flecks his lips. The dining room has erupted into chaos, women screaming, men shouting contradictory instructions. Some guests flee, fearing contagion. Others try desperately to help, though there is no help to be given. I should slip away now while attention is diverted. I've done what I came to do, yet my feet carry me forward, into the light of the dining room, toward the head table, where my victims writhe in their final agonies. The room falls silent as I approach, something in my demeanor causing even the panicked guests to still. I walk with deliberate steps until I stand directly before Master Reynolds, who lies half-sprawled across the table, blood now flowing freely from his mouth and nose. His eyes focus on me with sudden, terrible clarity. Recognition dawns in them, followed by understanding, then fear. I lean forward, my voice soft but carrying in the hushed room. "You have been poisoned," I say calmly, "and now you are feeling the same pain I felt when you traded my daughter for merchandise." Gasps ripple through the room. Master Reynolds tries to speak, but only a gurgling sound emerges. His hand flails weakly, reaching for me, or perhaps for help that will never come. I turn to John, who has fallen to the floor, his fine wedding clothes soaked with sweat and blood. He stares up at me, hatred and agony mingling in his gaze. "Remember me," I whisper, echoing the words I spoke to Mercy as she was torn from my arms. "Remember what you've done." Someone grabs me from behind, one of the overseers, his fingers digging painfully into my arm. "She's confessed," he shouts. "The cook has poisoned them." I don't resist as they drag me away from the table. What happens to me now doesn't matter. I've done what I set out to do. I've made them pay for taking my child. As they pull me from the dining room, I cast one last look over my shoulder. Master Reynolds has gone still, his eyes fixed and staring at nothing. John continues to convulse weakly, but his movements are slowing, life ebbing from him with each passing second. Around them, chaos reigns. Guests scrambling to escape, servants wailing. Mistress Eleanor collapsed in a dead faint. The beautiful wedding feast transformed into a scene of horror. I feel a strange calm descend over me as they drag me across the yard toward the overseer's cabin. There will be no trial, no formal justice. They will make an example of me, inflict unimaginable suffering before death finally claims me. But they cannot hurt me anymore. They took everything when they took Mercy. All that remained was this final act of defiance, this reclaiming of power in the only way left to me. Night has fallen fully now, the stars cold and distant overhead. Somewhere out there, Mercy still lives. I send a silent prayer that she will somehow know what I've done, that she will understand I never stopped fighting for her. As they bind my hands with rough rope, I close my eyes and summon her face in my mind, not as I last saw her, tear-streaked and terrified, but as she was in happier moments, laughing as she chased fireflies, concentrating as I taught her to knead dough, sleeping peacefully, her small body curled against mine in our narrow bed. "I did it for you," I whisper, though there is no one to hear. "For all of us. They can kill my body, but they cannot take this moment from me. This one perfect moment of justice in a world built on injustice. This knowledge that for once the powerless struck back at the powerful. And as the first lash falls across my back, I smile. Pain has become my world. My universe has contracted to the boundaries of my broken body, to the rhythm of agony that pulses with each heartbeat. I don't know how long it's been since the wedding feast. Hours or days, I cannot tell. Time has lost all meaning in this darkness. They've kept me in the old tobacco shed, chained to a post like an animal. The overseers take turns, their faces blurring together in my fevered vision as they extract their revenge for their fallen masters. Whip, fist, boot. The instruments change, but the pain remains constant, flowing through me like a river that never reaches the sea. I should be dead by now. Perhaps I am, and this is hell, an eternity of suffering as payment for my sins. But no, hell wouldn't have these brief moments of clarity between the waves of agony, these snatches of conversation that drift to my ears as my tormentors speak over my broken form. 12 dead in total, including both Reynolds' men and the bride's father, some still fighting for their lives, calling it the poisoned wedding. Their words bring a fierce satisfaction that burns brighter than the pain. 12 souls sent to judgment by my hand, both Reynolds' men among them, more than I had dared to hope for, more than I had planned. A rough hand grabs my hair, yanking my head back. Overseer Miller's face swims into focus, his features contorted with rage and something else, fear. They fear me now. These men who once saw me as nothing more than another piece of property, a tool to be used and discarded. "Why?" he demands, spittle flying from his lips. "Why would you throw your life away like this?" I try to laugh, but my broken ribs transform it into a bubbling cough. Blood spatters his shirt, and he recoils. "You took my daughter," I rasp, my voice barely audible. "You took everything. What life was left to throw away?" He strikes me then, hard across the face. My head snaps back, stars exploding behind my eyes. But the blow cannot touch the core of me, the part that remains untouched by their violence. "You'll hang for this," he hisses, "but not before you suffer like they suffered, not before you beg for death." I say nothing. I will not beg. Not for mercy, not for death, not for anything. They've taken all they can from me. What remains is mine alone. Night falls again, or perhaps it's been night all along. I drift in and out of consciousness, my mind slipping free of my broken body to wander through memories like rooms in a house I once knew. I see my mother, tall and proud despite the chains that bound her, teaching me to find medicine in common weeds. I see Mercy as a toddler, taking her first wobbling steps across our cabin floor, her face alight with triumph. I see the countless meals I've prepared over the years, the care I took with each one despite knowing they fed the bodies of my oppressors. And then, cutting through these memories, comes a new sound, hushed voices, the creak of the shed door opening. I force my swollen eyes to focus. Dark figures move toward me, their features obscured. For a moment, fear spikes through me. Another round of torture, perhaps. But then a familiar voice speaks. "Ruth, can you hear me?" Jeremiah. And beside him, Bessie and 2 other enslaved men from the fields whose names I don't know. "We're getting you out," Bessie whispers urgently. "The plantation's in chaos. Half the white folks have fled, fearing disease. The others are too busy fighting over who inherits to notice us." Jeremiah works on my chains with some kind of tool, his gnarled hands moving with surprising deftness. "You did a terrible thing, Ruth," he murmurs, not looking at me. "A necessary thing, maybe, but terrible all the same." The chains fall away. I try to stand, but my legs collapse beneath me. The 2 field hands catch me, supporting my weight between them. "Where?" I manage to ask, the single word sending shards of pain through my broken jaw. "The swamps," Bessie answers. "There's people there, runaways. They might take you in." I shake my head weakly. "They'll hunt me." "Not for long," one of the field hands says grimly. "Word's spreading about what happened here. They're saying it's a curse, that the plantation is poisoned. No one wants to stay." They half carry, half drag me from the shed, across the moonlit yard. Every movement is agony, but I bite back my cries. Freedom, however brief, is worth this pain. We move slowly through the cotton fields, keeping to the shadows. The big house looms in the distance, most of its windows dark. I wonder if Mistress Eleanor is inside, alone with her grief and fear. I wonder if she understands yet what drove me to this act, or if she's capable of such understanding. The journey is a blur of pain and whispered encouragement. Dawn is breaking by the time we reach the edge of the swamp. a vast expanse of dark water and twisted cypress trees draped with Spanish moss, a place of danger and refuge both. "This is as far as we dare go," Jeremiah says, helping me sit with my back against a tree trunk. "Follow the North Star through the swamp. After 3 days' journey, you'll find a settlement of free people, former slaves, native folk, others who fled the plantations." Bessie presses a small bundle into my hands. Food, water, a knife. It's all we could gather. I look up at them. These people who've risked everything to help me despite what I've done. "Why?" I ask. Jeremiah's weathered face creases in a sad smile. "Because you did what many of us have dreamed of doing, and because no mother should suffer what you've suffered." They leave me then, melting back into the grey dawn, returning to the plantation before their absence is discovered. I watch them go, these final connections to my old life, severing one by one. Alone, I inventory my broken body. Ribs shattered, jaw cracked, back laid open by the whip, feet raw and bleeding. The journey ahead seems impossible. Perhaps this is just a slower death than hanging would have been. But as the sun rises fully, casting dappled light through the cypress branches, something stirs within me. Not hope exactly, but a stubborn refusal to let them determine my end. If I am to die, it will be on my terms, as a free woman in these swamps, not as property on their plantation. I pull myself up using the tree trunk, my legs trembling beneath me. One step, another, each one a victory against pain, against the fate they planned for me. The swamp closes around me, dark water sucking at my feet, branches reaching like grasping hands. I push forward, guided only by the knowledge that north means potential safety, south means certain death. The sun becomes my compass when visible through the canopy. Days blur together. I drink from the water flask until it's empty, then from the swamp itself when desperation overcomes caution. I eat the hard biscuits and dried meat Bessie provided, rationing carefully, supplementing with roots and berries I recognize from my grandmother's teachings. Fever sets in, my wounds festering in the humid heat. Delirium follows, visions dancing before my eyes. Mercy reaching for me, Master Reynolds gasping his last breath, strange creatures lurking just beyond the trees. I talk to them all, argue with them, beg them to leave me in peace. How long I wander I cannot say. The swamp becomes my world. Its sounds and smells and textures my only reality. I fall often, drag myself up again. Sometimes I crawl when walking becomes impossible. And then, on what might be the 3rd day or the 10th, a change. Smoke on the air, voices carrying across the water, human presence. I stumble toward the sounds, beyond fear now, beyond caution. If it's death awaiting me, so be it. The journey has become too much to bear alone. The trees thin. A clearing appears. Small cabins built on stilts above the swamp water, fishing nets hanging to dry, children playing, adults working. They see me before I fully see them, a broken woman emerging from the swamp, more ghost than human. A cry goes up. Figures rush toward me. I try to speak, to explain myself, but darkness claims me before the words can form. I wake to unfamiliar surroundings. A small cabin with walls of rough-hewn cypress, a pallet beneath me covered with soft moss and cloth. My wounds have been cleaned and dressed with poultices that smell of herbs I recognize, and others I don't. A woman sits beside me, her dark skin weathered by sun and age, her eyes watchful. She holds a cup of water to my lips, and I drink greedily. "You've been fighting death for 3 days," she says when I finish. "Most would have surrendered by now." "Who are you?" My voice sounds strange to my ears, weak and raspy. "My name is Queen. This is my settlement." She studies me carefully. "You're the cook who poisoned the Reynolds wedding feast. Word has traveled even to the swamps." Fear clutches at me. If they know, will they turn me away? Or worse, return me for the bounty surely on my head? But Queen's next words dispel this fear. 12 slave owners dead by your hand. I never thought I'd see such a day." There's a note of grim satisfaction in her voice. "What do they call you?" "Ruth." She nods, as if confirming something to herself. "Well, Ruth, you're among friends here. This settlement was founded by runaways 30 years ago. Everyone here has fled bondage in some form. Your secret is safe." Relief washes over me, followed immediately by the grief that never leaves. "They took my daughter," I say, tears spilling down my cheeks. "Sold her to a man in Savannah. Queen's face softens. Many here have lost children, husbands, wives. We understand your pain and your rage. In the days that follow, as my body slowly knits itself back together, I learn about this hidden community. Nearly 50 people live here in the heart of the swamp. Former slaves, free blacks, a few native people whose tribes have been pushed ever westward. They survive by fishing, hunting, cultivating small gardens on the few patches of dry land, and occasional trading with sympathetic outsiders. They live in constant vigilance, with lookouts posted and escape routes planned. But they also live with a freedom I've never known, choosing their own work, keeping the fruits of their labor, governing themselves through counsel rather than master's whip. As my strength returns, I begin to contribute in the only way I know how, through cooking. My first attempts are humble, limited by my injuries and the available ingredients. But the simple act of preparing food for people who thank me, rather than take my labor as their due, begins to heal something in me that I thought was broken forever. One evening, as summer fades toward autumn, Queen sits beside me as I stir a pot of swamp rabbit stew. "The fever dreams you had when you first arrived," she says without preamble. "You called for your daughter constantly. Mercy, you named her." I nod, the familiar ache intensifying at the sound of her name. "I've been thinking," Queen continues carefully. "We have connections. Free black sailors who carry messages between settlements like ours up and down the coast. If this man in Savannah is known, if we could discover where he keeps his slaves..." She lets the implication hang in the air between us. Hope flares briefly, then dies. She could be anywhere by now. Sold again, sent west. My voice breaks. "And I'm a hunted woman. I can never leave this swamp." Queen regards me steadily. "Perhaps not, but information can travel where we cannot. It may take years, but would you not want to know if she lives? Would you not want her to know you live? The possibility, remote as it is, steals my breath. To know that Mercy lives, to perhaps someday send her word that I survived, that I never stopped loving her, never stopped fighting for her. Yes," I whisper, "I would give anything for that." Queen nods once, decisively. "Then we will try. I make no promises, but we will try." That night, alone in the small cabin they've given me, I sit in the doorway watching fireflies dance over the dark water. For the first time since Mercy was taken, I allow myself to imagine a future. Not happiness, for I think that is forever beyond my reach, but perhaps purpose, perhaps even peace. I think of the 12 souls I sent to judgment. I feel no regret for the act itself, though the violence of it has left its mark on me. I would do it again 100 times over to avenge my daughter. But I understand now that vengeance, while sweet in the moment, cannot sustain a life. What happens next must be for Mercy, not for the ghosts of those I've killed. If she lives, if by some miracle we find her, I want her to know her mother as more than just an avenging angel. I want her to know the woman who survived, who rebuilt, who never surrendered to despair. And if we never find her, if she is truly lost to me in this life, then I will live for those here in this swamp community who have taken in a broken, murderous woman and seen in her something worth saving. I will cook for them, heal with them, stand guard with them against the world that would return us all to chains. The poison that filled my heart when Mercy was taken will never fully dissolve. But perhaps with time, it can be transformed into something less destructive, into the fierce protectiveness I feel for this settlement, into the cautious friendships beginning to form, into the quiet moments when I find myself still capable of noticing beauty in the world. This is not the life I would have chosen, but it is the life I have been given after burning my old one to ashes. And I will live it, for Mercy, for myself, for all those who never got the chance to strike back at their oppressors as I did. In the distance, an owl calls. Once, I would have taken it as a death omen. Now I choose to hear it differently, as a reminder that even in darkness life continues, that eyes remain open, watching, waiting, that freedom once tasted can never be forgotten. This was the story of Ruth Moore. Historical records suggest she escaped into the Okefenokee swamp after poisoning 12 people at a plantation wedding in Georgia in 1857. She joined a maroon community of escaped slaves where she lived until approximately 1883. There is evidence she eventually received word that her daughter Mercy had been freed after the Civil War and was living in Boston. Whether they were ever reunited remains unknown. Ruth was buried in the swamp settlement that became her home, her grave marked only by a cypress carving that has long since returned to the earth. The echoes of Ruth's defiance resonate through time, a stark reminder of the brutal fight for freedom. If these untold stories of resistance and survival stir your soul, join our community. Subscribe to The Slave's Revenge to uncover more hidden truths from the shadows of American slavery. Your support helps us keep these powerful narratives alive.